Alrighty, so today's book club, of course, you guys are more than welcome to engage in conversation. I didn't see too many people share anything in the book club section. So if you guys have anything that you read on this book here today that we're going to be diving into, you guys are more than welcome to share. I will go through, I dropped all my notes, my screenshots from the first chapter that I read. I'll be completely honest with you. This week was a little bit busy for me, so I didn't have time to get past the first chapter, but I did thoroughly read through the first chapter and I actually genuinely enjoyed it. I'll probably actually end up finishing this book. But the book in talk today is The Wisdom or The Ancient Wisdom, an Outline of Theosophical Teachings by Annie Besant. And this one was found inside the Ancient Wisdom and Symbolism esoteric section here. A great section to dive into in your free time. There's so many phenomenal books inside this section. Honestly, this outside of the religion and spirituality section of the Library of Awaken is probably my favorite, where you can find these books that are over 200 years old, some of them that will just absolutely blow your mind. Like this one, I dove into this one the other day. Occult Sciences in India Among the Ancients. This one's from the late 1800s. So yeah, phenomenal section to dive into. This is the book that we're going to jump into real fast. Today, I'll read some of my excerpts. If you guys have anything that you want to bring to the table, feel free to open the floor up. And if not, then I'll just read through my stuff and then we can hop off. It'll be very engaging and insightful for you guys. This is our book, The Ancient Wisdom and Outline of Theosophical Teachings. Really deep. Honestly, like I said, I'll probably end up actually finishing this book. It's one of those books that you kind of have to reread a multitude of times to actually get the gist of everything that's going on. So, coming into the book club section so that you guys can follow along if you'd like. Um, I'll start down here at the bottom, kind of wrapping up as a whole to give you kind of an insight into all the screenshots that I had taken. I took five different passages from the first chapter, and I said here, putting it all together, these passages are really saying one thing through a different lens. You are far more than you are currently expressing. You carry dormant powers awaiting activation, and your body is an instrument that can be refined. Your thought tune, or your thoughts tune to the music of your life, and your inner rhythm shapes what you attract. And then last but not least, your consciousness can expand as your vessel becomes capable of carrying more. All right. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I'll be touching on today. And like I said, if you guys have anything, just raise your hand. If you want to input anything into the conversation or what it is that I have to say in terms of the passages that I'll read to you guys, you're more than welcome to. All right. And if not, then I'll just read mine and then we'll end the book club and hopefully you guys have something to take away from it. All right. So the first passage that I had screenshotted reads, Man's physical body has two main divisions. And again, all of these passages are coming from chapter one. And chapter one in this book, we come down here, is titled The Physical Plane. All right. Man's physical body has two main divisions. The dense body, made of constituents from the three lower levels of the physical plane, solids, liquids, and gases, and the etheric double, violet gray or blue gray in color, interpret oh man, interpenetrating the dense body and composed of materials drawn from the four higher levels. The general function of the physical body is to receive contacts from the physical world and send the report of them inwards to serve as materials from which the conscious entity inhabiting the body is to elaborate knowledge. So, my response to this after reading is that the body is an instrument, not just matter. This passage to me shifts into a kind of beautiful idea that the body is more than flesh. It describes the dense body, but also an etheric or energetic counterpart, almost like a subtle architecture underlying physical form. What I got from this is that the body is not just a machine, it is an instrument. And when I was younger, and even, to this day, my daughter had this interest in playing the violin. So when I read this passage, I thought of a violin and how the wood matters, but so does the tuning, so does the strings, right? And if the strings are off, even a master musician produces distortion. This passage to me was saying that something similar in the way in that about how we operate, right? Consciousness plays through the body, and the quality of the instrument affects that expression. So, this to me landed in terms of practical life, how we know that intuitively, if we eat poorly, if we neglect sleep, if we fill our mind with chaos, then our perception of reality changes. Your energy changes versus, if you nourish yourself, if you think clearly, if you move intentionally, then something different emerges. You have different outcomes, right? And the book says that the body receives contacts from the physical world and provides material for consciousness to elaborate knowledge. To me, this meant that life gives us raw experience and consciousness turns experience into wisdom. I wrote that your body is not just transportation for the soul, it is part of your spiritual education, and understanding that should change how we treat it, right? If you're aware that what you consume, what you do throughout the day, and how your conscious awareness plays through the body, right? Then it should make you want to change how you treat those things, right? Food, we know, becomes vibration. Thoughts become architecture for action, and rest becomes sacred. And I wrote down simply that that's something that I personally need to work on is adhering to my body when it needs rest. The body stops being something that we merely carry and it becomes something that we cultivate. All right. So that was the first passage that I had take away from the first chapter. All right. It gets a little bit deeper after this one. Again, like I said, if you guys have anything that you want to bring to the table as I'm talking or something resonates with you, just raise your hand. I'll see it on the screen and then you guys can have the floor. All right. The second passage, this one is a little bit lengthy and one of those ones that you have to read kind of repetitively. And it starts here and it says, the word spirit matter is used designedly. It implies the fact there is no such thing as dead matter. All matter is living. The tiniest particles are lives. Science speaks truly in affirming no force without matter, no matter without force. They are wedded together in an undissoluble marriage throughout the ages of life of a universe, and none can wrench them apart. Matter is form, and there is no form which does not express a life. Spirit is life, and there is no life that is not limited by a form. Even the Logos, the Supreme Lord, has during manifestation the universe as his form, and so down to the atom. This involution of the life of the Logos as the ensouling force in every particle and its successive enwrapping in the spirit matter of every plane, so that the materials of each plane have within them a hidden or latent condition, all the form and force possibilities. I'll read that last part again. It says, so that the materials of each plane have within them, in a hidden or latent condition, all the forms and force possibilities. All of the planes above them, as well as those of their own, of these two facts make evolution certain and give to the very lowest particle the hidden potentialities, which will render it fit, as they become active powers, to enter into the forms of the highest beings. And this is the part that really hit, where it says, in fact, evolution may be summed up in a phrase. And that phrase is that it is latent potentialities becoming active powers. And so, in response to this, I wrote, the way that I interpreted this passage is that evolution is not really about becoming something foreign to yourself. It is about unfolding what was already hidden within you. The quote, latent potentialities becoming active powers. That to me was a profound phrase. It suggests that greatness is not imported from outside of us, it is awakened from within. Thinking about this in real life, I remember being younger and in my grandma's backyard, which now is like a freaking cul-de-sac of multiple apartment complexes, and they completely tore the forest down. But in my grandma's backyard when I was growing up, I remember that there were these oak trees, and they would these like huge seeds would come down, and then more oak trees would just spring up like out of nowhere, and it was just like a whole oak tree forest. And my grandma would talk about it all the time, so I related this to a seed. how a seed already contains the intelligence of a tree. It has not struggled to become an oak by imitation. It unfolds according to what it is already encoded within it. Our lives work much the same way. Discipline, wisdom, intuition, and compassion, even higher consciousness, these are not things that we get. They are things that we activate. And I've related this to trading, right? To personal growth and even to spirituality, where a profitable trader is not created overnight through some magical indicator. The capacity for patience, emotional mastery, and pattern recognition, it was just dormant within inside of you. And then through certain things like pressure and repetition, it became an active power, or it will become an active power for you over time. And the same is true with the soul. Many people live identified only with what they currently express, not realizing that they are carrying dormant kingdoms inside themselves. Right? How many people walk around aimlessly through life, not understanding that they themselves are these finite beings that have the potential to express themselves in ways that they could never really imagine unless they really truly lock in and focus on unlocking those powers within. So, when the text speaks of the lowest particle, eventually being fit to enter the forms of the highest beings. When I read this, it read like a message of hope that there's no part of life that is wasted. Even our struggles, primarily our struggles, may be undeveloped powers in disguise, where every trial can be alchemy, alchemy being something that can be refined into latent gold or something of a higher power. And that to me was the lesson for us in this reading, in this passage, to stop viewing evolution or evolving into something as becoming more than what we currently are, and instead starting to see it as remembering and activating what has already been there within inside of us. All right. So that's kind of how I interpreted this passage or this portion of this text. All right. So that one hit for me. I see no hands, so I'll continue to move on. All right. The third passage, reading this one for you guys, it says, the body is constantly changing. Each particle is a life, and the lives come and go. They are drawn to a body consonant within themselves. They are repelled from one discordant with themselves. All things live in rhythmical vibrations. All seek the harmonious and are repelled by dissonance. A pure body repels coarse particles because they vibrate at rates discordant with its own. A coarse body attracts them because their vibrations accord with its own. Hence, if the body changes its rates of vibration, it gradually drives out of it its constituents that cannot fall into the new rhythm and fills up their places by drawing in from external nature fresh constituents that are harmonious. So, like I said, these are some of the passages in this book and how dense it is. You have to kind of reread it a couple of times. But I said here in reply to this passage really made me pause because it feels like the theory and or it feels less like theory and more like something that we've all experienced. Even if we've never had the language for it, when it says everything seeks what is harmonious within itself, I heard something very similar and simple, that what we carry inside us shapes what we keep drawing towards us. And I've seen this in my own personal life. There were seasons where stress, overthinking, and survival mode felt normal. And I'm sure that you guys, if you've been a part of this community for a while, have experienced some of those things with me. And somehow, life kept mirroring more situations that fed that same state. Then there were seasons where I became more intentional with what I consume, more intentional with what I thought about and who I spent my time around, and even what I expected from life. And then things started to change. And it's not something that happens overnight, but there's definitely a noticeable shift when you start to change the things that you consume, the things that you think about, the people that you hang around, or just in general, what you expect from your own personal life. Different people ended showing up in my life once those things started happening. Different opportunities opened up, and old habits started feeling out of place. And that's what I thought that this passage was pointing at. When it talks about rhythm and vibration, I didn't just hear mysticism, I heard alignment. If you live in resentment all day, that resentment has a rhythm. If you live in gratitude versus resentment, then that gratitude as well has a certain rhythm to it. And they don't produce the same life results, right? Someone living in resentment all day versus someone that lives in gratitude all day, they're going to have completely different outcomes with their lives. I also enjoyed where it said that the body can change its rates of vibration and begin driving out what no longer fits the new rhythm. So when you reprogram, when you restart to adjust what you consume, what you think about, and what you expect from life, your body can wit out all the old things that didn't suit you well. And that sounds a lot to me like personal growth, where when you start changing inwardly, somehow things that you used to tolerate just don't sit right anymore. And I don't know if you guys can personally adhere to that, but I know for a fact I certainly resonated with that message. Conversations start to feel different. I know for a fact that nowadays I can't really have conversations with people that aren't mentally aligned with like my awareness and my level of thinking because the things that they're interested in, the normal things that they pay attention to just don't resonate with my understanding of the world anymore, right? So conversations for me are completely different than what they used to be years ago. Certain environments feel relatively heavy, where perfect example for me is when I go home. I It sucks for me because everyone back home, especially my family members, are stuck in this lower level of thinking and awareness. And it's super heavy for me. It's a burden to bear. I love my family and I love being in those environments, but it's super heavy because it's not what my brain capacity is comfortable, analyzing anymore. Old patterns lose their pull and healthier things begin finding their way in. I've seen this in trading as well. So, again, relating this to trading, when someone is ruled by fear and urgency, they often attract chaotic results. When they become a more calmer individual, a more disciplined individual, a more intentional individual, then your outcomes usually tend to become more productive. Same market, different person, mentality, and approaching them, right? And then you get different results. And that's why I took this passage personally, because it reminded me that transformation isn't always forcing life from the outside. Something, or sometimes, it's tuning something within. And once your inner tone changes, what you attract begins to change too. And so that's kind of what I took away from this, and that it's not some abstract frequency, but living in such a way that your thoughts and your actions and your health and your spirit begin moving in agreement. All right. So that's what I took away from this passage here. And that was the third one. All right. Second to last. In the earlier building of human bodies, this selective action was due to the monad of form. But now that man is a self conscious entity, he presides over his own building. By his thoughts, he strikes the keynote of his music. I'll repeat that again. By his thoughts, he strikes the keynote of music. That was my key takeaway from this passage. I remember writing this one. And sets up the rhythms that are the most powerful factors in the continual changes his physical and other bodies. As his knowledge increases, he learns how to build up his physical body with pure food, and so facilitates the tuning of it. He learns to live by the axiom of purification, pure food and a pure mind, and constant memory of God. As the highest creature living on the physical plane, because that is us, he is the vicegerent of the Logos, therein responsible so far as his powers extend for its orders, peace, and good government. And this duty he cannot discharge without these three requisites. So, my takeaway from this is that very simplistically, I quoted this again by his thoughts. He strikes the keynote of music. And I said, what a line. Your dormant thought is your keynote. Everything else begins harmonizing around it. Fear, as a keynote, produces one life. Faith produces another. Discipline produces a different result versus bitterness producing another. A person who constantly rehearses in their mind defeat begins embodying defeat, right? You are what you sow, or you reap what you sow. A person on the opposite side who rehearses purpose and alignment begins organizing a life around purpose, right? And same thing, as always, I try to reflect this in trading, where I've seen this in trading repeatedly. Before someone ever becomes consistently profitable, they have to internally become orderly, right? You have to be organized. You have to be mentally sound. You have to be ready and willing to take the time to put in the work to actually get the proper results that you long for. Your thought rhythm will change way before your actual P&L changes. And that's what a lot of people don't fully understand and comprehend about the markets or investing in general. The passage also ties purity of food, purity of mind, and remembrance of God together. I found that fascinating because it's saying transformation is holistic. You don't just evolve only through thinking, you evolve through what you consume mentally, physically, and spiritually. And if you guys have noticed, if you've ever read like My Goal in Life or About Your Mentor, my number one goal in life has been to help people elevate themselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Right. So that to me stuck, where every single day we are tuning an instrument, whether consciously or unconsciously. I see a comment, so I'll go ahead and read it real quick. That's good. Kristen, you said you journaled this very thing yesterday because it's true, right?
I
Very true.
did. Yeah, I don't think you can master trading until you master yourself internally. And this book that you're reading here, I've been listening because I'm in the car a lot still. I've been listening to The Secret. And now your brain is a radio receiver. So really your thoughts, I mean, they even talk about like the science of getting rich, like they even bring that up. But your thoughts have such, you don't even realize it, how much power those thoughts actually have. And they do create your reality. And it's not until you learn how to shift those thoughts does your reality ever change. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. And it's not an easy feat. It's not an easy feat, especially if you are coming from a certain upbringing where, you know, you're in your 20s or your 30s or even in some cases in your 40s and you're just now having this awakening. It's very hard to reprogram your thought process that has been, you know, enshrined upon you all your life. It's not an easy feat. It's not something that can just happen overnight, which is another kind of daunting thing because you want change to happen so fast. Naturally, as human beings, we want things now, 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 right? We don't want it to take time because time is, of course, our most valuable and precious asset, and we can never get our time back. But it's definitely a work in progress, and you have to understand it's not something that can just flip the switch overnight, but slow, constant consistency over a prolonged period of time is what will really bring these things, these positive thoughts, and these positive life changes into fruition for you. Um, to wrap it up, kind of because it is Saturday, and I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time, especially if nobody else has anything to share. We'll cut it. But this is the last passage here, and it reads: Man dwells, as we shall see, in various vehicles, physical, astral, and mental, and it is important to know and remember that as we are evolving upwards, the lowest of the vehicles, the dense physical, is that which consciousness first controls and rationalizes. The physical brain is the instrument of consciousness in waking life on the physical plane, and consciousness works in it in the undeveloped man more effectively than in any other vehicle. Its potentialities are less than those of the subtler vehicles, but its actualities are greater, and the man knows himself as the I in the physical. In the physical body. He finds himself elsewhere. Even if he be more highly developed than the average man, he can only show as much of himself down here as the physical organism permits. For consciousness can manifest on the physical plane only so much as the physical vehicle can carry. This one to me probably hit the most. Um, without or before reading this, just in general, it to me meant that your mental, your spiritual can go so much farther than your physical body can. And sometimes that can be a very daunting feeling where, like, I don't know if you guys have ever felt this or had this awakening, but I mean, in general, we are meat sacks, or we are these conscious entities, these finite souls, these beings that are stuck inside this physical, you know, meat embodiment, like, you know, and you can be this awakened being and this person who wants to do all these things, but you're limited by your physical representation on this earth, right? So that's kind of how I took this away. So reading this final passage, I said, it says consciousness can only express through the physical vehicle as much as the vehicle can carry. I found this to be profound because many people feel that there is more in them than they can express. And this is, of course, including myself. And maybe there is. Maybe your spirit outruns your current vessel. I know I've felt that way, and I've felt that way for some long time now. And that growth is strengthening the vessel. When I read this, for some reason, I thought of electrical wiring, where too much current through weak wiring causes a breakdown, versus stronger wiring can carry greater power. Maybe human development is something similar. As consciousness expands, we have to understand that the vessel must be refined enough to hold the consciousness that it is expanding towards. That applies mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Someone may have incredible vision, but without discipline, they cannot embody that vision, right? You can want to become a profitable trader as much as you want, but if you don't have the discipline to become a profitable trader, it doesn't matter how much you think about being a profitable trader. If you don't equate those thoughts to actual physical disciplines to materialize that in the physical realm for yourself, then it'll never it'll never materialize. I said someone may carry deep love, but unresolved wounds distort its expression, and that's something that I personally face. Potential exceeds capacity until the vessel catches up. That's why practice matters, meditation matters, study matters, clean living matters, self mastery matters. These are not just moral rules, they are vessel building. You have to build up your physical vessel. You can't just be mentally sound and think that, you're going to supersede all these mental, spiritual expectations. Your physicality has to be, of above par as well. And I love where the passage says that man knows himself as the I in the physical body. That self awareness is sacred. Once you know that you're more than a body, yet working through the body, then life changes. You stop seeing yourself as trapped inside physical matter, and you begin seeing matter or physical matter as a tool to expand your consciousness. All right. So that's the 5 passages that I took away from chapter 1 of this book by Annie Besant. The For anybody who missed the intro, the ancient wisdom and outline of theosophical teachings. Simple book read for today. I won't keep you guys any longer. If you have anything to bring to the table or you have any sections, maybe you read the book, you're more than welcome. I'll leave the floor open. If not, you guys enjoy your Saturday. We'll tap into another book in the next coming weeks ahead. We'll do the same thing. Hopefully, you guys have a little bit more to engage with and you guys read the books yourselves and bring something to the table because I would love to hear your personal opinions about these books or your personal experiences with things that you read. But if there's nothing, then blessings to you guys. You guys enjoy your week, and I'll see you all next weekend. You guys enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you all next week.
Thanks, Larry. Sounds good.
If you are someone constantly searching for the best books, the rare ones, the ancient ones, the ones that actually change how you think, the Library of Awakening was built for you. Inside CyberX, we've organized a digital collection of over 4,000 powerful and ancient books spanning consciousness, psychology, ancient wisdom, esoteric symbolism, religion, wealth philosophy, global power structures, astrology, symbolism, tarot, sci fi, and alternative history. This isn't a random archive, it's categorized with intention. Inside, you'll find structured sections like the book club for guided study and discussion, the third eye psychology section for deeper perception and awareness, the human psychology and self mastery section for behavioral insight and transformation, even ancient wisdom and esoteric symbolism for decoding hidden teachings. We also have expanded consciousness for higher level thought, religion and spirituality for theological and philosophical study, and elite agendas and global power structures for macro awareness, wealth building and economics for foundational understanding, and even astrology, symbols, tarot, sci fi, and UFO exploration to widen perspectives. Everything inside the Private CyberX Discord is organized for serious readers who want depth, not surface level summaries or trending bestsellers pushed by algorithms. If you're tired of reading what everyone else is reading and you're ready to access books that truly expand awareness, challenge assumptions, and sharpen your thinking, this is where you'll find them. Digitized, structured, and studied inside a focused community of thinkers and like minded individuals. So head over to cyberxtrading.com, try out the CyberX Discord for a month, and unlock the Library of Awakening. Dive into the collection, find the books that you've been searching for, and maybe even some ones you didn't even know existed. Welcome to the journey. May this space inspire you to ask questions, explore the unknown, and most importantly, to awaken. This is the Library of Awakening. I know some of the perspectives that I share may be as challenging for you as they once were for me. But isn't that the beauty of exploration? Every perspective, no matter how unconventional, has something valuable to contribute to it if it's shared. Knowledge is not absolute. It's a living, breathing phenomena, shaped and reshaped over time. The important thing is not always be right, but to always be curious. Explore freely, share boldly, and learn deeply. And don't rely solely on others to validate your discoveries. Stand firm in integrity, even in the face of criticism. Remember that growth always means embracing the humility to admit when we're wrong. Learning from our errors is not a setback, it's the very essence of our progress. So, welcome to the journey. May this space inspire you to ask questions, explore the unknown, and most importantly, to awaken. This is the Library of Awakening.